Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from New York City, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast that makes ancient wisdom relevant today. Today I'm your host, Kaustubha Das. Today our other host, Raghunath, he's just running around getting the kids together. They're packing up because they're going down to Rath Yatra from upstate New York today, and then they go straight to India. Then they go to Brooklyn, stay with the Burmans tonight. That must be fun. And then they tomorrow morning they leave, or tomorrow sometime they leave for Italy. Is that right, Mara?
That's right. We're excited.
I bet you're excited.
This is our packed up and out of the house.
Oh yeah. What about all the animals? Who's going to look after the animals?
Well, Maya will be back here tomorrow, and Sachi's boyfriend Ganesham, and Lev will be staying here a little bit as well.
Okay, good. But what about today? They're going to go hungry?
Today we got the neighbors.
Okay.
Coming over to feed Gusly.
All right. Good. So we got a very oh, is that Raghunath? Bring him over here. Let him say hello.
He's making some sandwiches, but your presence is requested, Drago.
Yeah, come on, Raghu. Come on, you had to say hello to the professor. We got a very special show today with Brighupada Das, aka Professor Mons Broo, who will be speaking about some of his brilliant work on the book that he wrote on the subject of the Guru in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, this lineage of Bhakti Yoga. But first, we just want to say hello to Raghunath. He's not going to be here for most of the show. Is he going to come? He's ignoring me. He won't come. He's right there making sandwiches. Come on over, Raghu. The people want you. They need you. Is he going to come?
Yes, he's coming. Okay, he's coming.
There we go.
I'm making avocado sandwiches.
I thought Mara does that.
Mara's.
They usually do.
She usually does.
So many places.
Oh, but she's doing the show right now.
Yeah.
She's doing the show. Gotta go packing up my DDs.
All right, we had a great program in my home last night. You would have loved it. A lot of our regulars, a lot of our Zoomers, some others came.
How did it go on the new Zoom, on the new platform?
Well, I think it was great. I think we can improve it. We can get better sound quality and maybe a couple camera angles and so on. But I think it was good. It was just doing something live like that.
Cool.
From the home. Yeah. We'll
so
do more
cool.
Stuff like that.
All right, great. I'm excited for the interview with the professor.
Yes. We got him ready.
Remember, Narayan Rishi, Sukracharya.
Study up on that.
Stump the professor.
Oh, hey, look at that, Raga.
Oh, look, the professor's reading up for his library. I've made it to the scientific library.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
He is a hardcore guy, I think. Maybe.
Were you into hardcore, Brigupad Prabhu?
No, not really. I'm afraid.
Not at all. Come on, Raghunath. Look at how well he's dressed. That's what I want you to take note of today.
Oh, I know. I did clean up my beard yesterday, but
not you.
Look like we could be 20s.
Yeah, sure, Raghunath.
All right. Jagannath Rath Yatra Maha Mahotsava Ki.
Jai. Okay, Raghunath. We'll see you a little bit later. So, everybody, today we have Professor Brighupada Das, Mons Broo. He's a lecturer in religious studies at, I want to make sure I pronounce this right, Abo Akademi University. Is that correct? Yes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
In Finland, and a disciple of Swami B.V. Tripurari. He gained his PhD in 2003 with a thesis on the Guru in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Right, that book was called As Good as God, the Guru in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And his most recent work is a critical edition and annotated translation of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Hari Bhakti Vilas. But his greatest achievement is being the husband of the artist and daily listener to our podcast, daily Zoomer, Saragrahi Dasi. We love her. And apparently you do too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me be on the show. This is very exciting.
Letting you be. Thank you for accepting the invitation. We're so glad to have you here. Why don't we dive right into it? Okay. You're here, by the way, you're here in New York and you'll be here at the Rath Yatra today.
Yes.
So anyone wants to look for a handsome, dapper man and want to ask him some questions on scholarly Vaishnava Bhakti Yoga related subjects, you can find him there. But you probably won't be wearing the suit to the
No, I'll be pretending that I'm a Vaishnava. I'll dress up.
Okay. And what will be your outfit today? Will it be a dhoti or more like a
Dhoti, kurta, chadar, all white.
classic?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I'm sure it'll be done with your own special, just in your own special dapper way. Now wait till you see Raghu today. He can get creative on days like this. Or is he going to go with that white outfit that he's wearing, Mara? Oh, you're asked to unmute. There you go. We can't hear you.
I think he's going all white, but we'll see.
Okay, that's kind of his like Osho
Yeah, he
look.
just got mustard on his shirt update.
Yeah. Okay, maybe he's gonna be
So
changing.
maybe wearing something different.
When Raghu goes all white, that's his Osho thing, you know? All white, big white beard, you know. It's got a Guru Bhav, and maybe that's
Yeah.
something that we need to talk about today too. Is the Guru Bhav, is it totally external? Is there something real to it? We need to know. Okay.
All right,
But,
looking forward to seeing you all at Rath Yatra.
Okay, Mara. Mara's gonna leave now?
I am.
Okay, we'll see you downtown. What did he do?
I don't know, but it sounds like things are falling apart today.
This is, yeah, you haven't even gotten started and already things are falling apart.
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking forward to seeing you both. See you soon.
Cool.
All right, well. Okay, so everyone, so let's get right into the topic. Professor, let's just, why don't we just start in the most fundamental and simple way? You know, you wrote a doctoral thesis on what a guru is, and specifically what a guru is within our lineage, our particular branch of Krishna Bhakti, the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, the followers of Sri Chaitanya. And it's such an important topic because this is how the lineage is maintained, and it's such an essential part of the practice of bhakti. But it's, you know, it has a history, it has a philosophy behind it, it has it's I guess you could say it's the practical way it's practiced within the lineage, and maybe it's been practiced in different ways at different times. So I think commonly there's a lot of confusion on this subject, both in the general public, within the yoga world, and even within the tradition itself. It can be confusing because there's so much teachings about it coming from different angles. So I thought I would just start with the simplest of questions and just ask you, what exactly is a guru?
Well, that's a good question.
Okay.
Well, the basic meaning of the word guru in Sanskrit is heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Use heavy with authority. So I think the most kind of basic translation of the word guru would be an authority. And that's the way the word guru is used in many Indian contexts, that your parents will be your guru. So your husband or your wife will be your guru, or like that. But then many times there's a differentiation between guru and sadguru.
Sadguru.
Yeah. Now, I mean, there's a person that calls himself Sadguru today, but the traditional meaning of Sadguru is a spiritual guru, or a true guru, a person who is not simply an authority because of being elderly, or a person who, guru can also mean teacher in general. So you could have like your piano guru or your dance guru.
Right.
But Sadguru is somebody who is teaching you spiritual topics. So like Prabhupada often speaks about the guru as the spiritual master.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a translation really of Sadguru.
I see. Okay,
And
yes. So,
no,
please continue. Please continue. Did you have more that you wanted to share?
No, you go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in other words, the term can be used and has been used to apply in a casual way to a person that's an authority or teacher in a particular subject. But then there's this other category where it seems like the subject becomes more grave and maybe more mysterious, when we get into what you call a Sadguru, or a guru that's teaching, embodying, and instructing in the spiritual realm.
Yes, because I mean, if you want to know if somebody is a good piano teacher, that's fairly easy to find out. Or if you want to know if somebody is a good yoga teacher, teaching asana. But when we speak about a spiritual teacher, that's more difficult to kind of judge from an outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And we easily also get into mystification that perhaps a spiritual teacher then needs to be somebody who lives in a cave in the Himalayas, or has a gray beard, or dreadlocks or something like that.
Yeah.
That's, of course, that's not necessarily what we're looking for.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm jumping into this question too soon, but since it's on my mind, I want to bring it up. Within the tradition, when it comes to the Sadguru, so much is written, whether it's like historical kind of narrations of great devotees and their relationships with their gurus, or whether it's just kind of like straight out instruction derived from the ancient texts about how to relate to a guru, how to approach a guru, how to serve a guru. There's so much written that sounds, I suppose you could say it sounds extreme. It sounds like you're relating to this person not like you're relating to your piano teacher. Your piano teacher, you're supposed to show up and do the, be generally respectful, and they're going to give you some assignments, and hopefully you're taking it serious enough that you'll actually set aside the time to do it, and you come back next week and you see where you're at. When we talk about this spiritual guru, we read so much where it's really like you're giving your entire life, you're giving your entire heart, you're giving up your independence, you're really surrendering everything, whether it's in the devotional songs, so much is like that. How do you understand that? I think to the Western mind, immediately they're going to say, well, this appears to be a very dangerous, potentially dangerous relationship. From your own studies, looking into that, what are your thoughts on that? As well as being you're a person that practices this. You have your guru as well, so you're seeing it in one sense from both ends, I suppose, from within the tradition and then as a scholar trying to see it through the lens of an outsider, I suppose. Would you characterize your work that way?
Yes, and I think we're dealing with many different things here in your question. Definitely, Kaustuv Prabhu, as you said before, this is a very grave topic, spirituality. So dealing with your spiritual teacher, because of the nature of the topic, will be a more serious and all-encompassing thing than dealing with your piano teacher, for example. Mm-hmm. Because spirituality is not just about what we feel within us or what we believe in. It's also, in our tradition, our spiritual life is something that is supposed to permeate all of our levels of being. Mm-hmm. How we sleep, how we eat, how we go to work, how we deal with our families, and so on. So the nature of the topic means that the relationship with the spiritual teacher is going to be a little bit different than to other teachers. But then there's also a cultural aspect.
Sure.
In many Eastern traditions, they deal with all kinds of authorities in a way that is kind of foreign to many of us in the Western world. And that we also don't always understand correctly. Like we'll see, if you go to an Indian guru, you'll see the disciples bowing down to the guru, saying, yes, Guruji, yes, mm-hmm. whatever you say, and so on. But much of that is culture.
Like that they grew up with relating to their parents by touching their feet when they see them the first thing in the morning, then touching their hand to their head, and exactly. Similar types of expression.
Yeah. And it's not always as serious as we might think. Like you're not supposed to disagree publicly with, for example, your parents, but it doesn't mean that you always need to do exactly what they say. Mm-hmm. You can get around that in different ways. Like I have a friend who when he was young and from Pakistan, a Hindu man, when he was young, he got the chance to go to the United States on a scholarship. And his father said, I'm not allowing it. All of your brothers have already gone abroad. I'm not going to allow you to go abroad. I want to have somebody here when I grow old.
How old was he at the time?
Well, my friend was maybe 20 or something like that.
Okay.
And so he said, okay. But then he was so kind of obviously sad for a few days that his mom then went and spoke to his father, and then
Right.
okay, I'm allowing you to go. So much of this kind of yes is cultural, and that's important to know, because the relationship with the guru, as we learn it in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's not about the disciple being this kind of starry-eyed guru groupie who's just kind of saying yes to everything. But it's like Arjuna, for example, in the Gita. He's going to ask questions from Krishna. He's going to argue with Krishna. He's going to say, well, you just said this, but before you said that, how is it actually?
Okay.
So the guru-disciple relationship is always kind of a two-way relationship. Learning is not something that you simply kind of pour into another person.
Right.
It happens in the meeting between.
There's got to be some tension, perhaps,
Yes.
to make some progress, to get the heat
Yes.
that's necessary for some transformation.
Exactly, and we see that in many of the stories of gurus and disciples. It's not always kind of straightforward how everything goes.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because you kind of got us started on defining what a guru is as, a teacher, but in this context, within a very serious or grave subject area. I think when most people, probably even in India, definitely in the Western world, when they hear the word guru and their stereotypical idea is these kind of popular figures, I suppose we could call them, that, they kind of blow up on the scene in different ways. In the 60s, different gurus came to America. Stereotypically, they were bearded and they seem to embody an aura of peace, perhaps, and they're kind of just seen as wise men, that are just kind of, you can throw questions at them and they're going to give you these wise answers. A lot of times the answers will be a little puzzling, perhaps indicating that I'm not that deep and I've got so far to go where I can really understand them. But in other words, it's just like, I don't think there's much conception of a lineage being represented necessarily, but there's just like, maybe we don't even know, like if you listen to Sadhguru or many others like this, I don't know if they're so much quoting directly from Shastra, so much presenting themselves as a representative of a lineage, but they're kind of just like, I'm a wise man. How would you how would you contrast that with, let's say, a guru in the Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage? What's the difference? Are those people actually gurus, would you say, or at least from the perspective of this lineage?
Well, I think it's important to realize that all of the Hindu tradition lacks kind of central authority that would be able to stamp
Okay.
this is a real guru or this is a fake guru.
Yeah.
A guru is a guru if he or she has a disciple who sees him or her as their guru. So that's really what makes somebody a guru. But from our perspective, our tradition's perspective, people like the ones that you mentioned, they're not gurus of what we are after.
Okay.
We come to our gurus to learn about bhakti to Radha and Krishna. And these people, they're not teaching that they're teaching something else. And how well they do that, I'm not sure I'm able to say. But as you hint in your question, of course, we're interested in a particular type of bhakti, and we're also interested in a particular lineage of teachers that give that kind of bhakti. And that's something that is kind of foreign to many of these modern gurus. They are gurus by their own kind of charisma, their own merit. They're not members of any lineage or anything like that. And there are some pros to that, of course. It means that they can kind of make up things as they go. They don't need to think about what tradition has said. They don't need to be burdened by old ideas and so on. But from our perspective, there are many cons with that as well. And one is that such a guru is not really under anybody's control. And there's plenty of possibility for abuse, for misuse of power, and so on, when there's nobody who's kind of above you.
Or even perhaps there's no yardstick by which to measure whether they're playing their role.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some kind of common definitions of what a guru should be like. But one thing that many people forget today is that a guru should always also be a student. From our perspective, a real guru will always be a student himself or herself. That means that the guru has a guru as well. So this is something that comes already very early in our tradition, in the way that our acharyas, our teachers, speak about spiritual knowledge. That is something that needs to be handed down gradually.
Okay, this is interesting because now we're we're taking the broad definition that you shared in the beginning and now looking at from within this particular tradition. Now we get more specific. Going back to that broader idea and some of these, kind of quote unquote like popular pop gurus, if you want. It almost feels sometimes like their story may just be like, I was a normal person and then I had this experience and it opened up my third eye and now I see things that others don't see and I'm ready to share them with people. It's almost like that. Whereas within the tradition, it's like, no, I studied very carefully and was trained very carefully within a tradition that's been carefully handed down. And I'm not presenting myself as I had some kind of Shaktipat moment where there was some mystical thing happen necessarily, but I'm a careful representative of a tradition that maybe there's some of the other there too, blended into it. Would that sound about right?
Yes, there's definitely some of the other blended into. I mean, within our tradition, we have all kinds of gurus, and some of them are more kind of, you could say, lineage holders, that their main qualification for being a guru is being a disciple or a descendant of a previous guru. But there are definitely also very kind of charismatic gurus. And that's one of the interesting things with our tradition, that we have this kind of blend of various types of gurus and various understandings of how important the lineage and the tradition is. But definitely it's much more important than in the case of these kind of modern middle class urban Hindu gurus.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about these varieties of gurus. It's a fact, like if you take the bringing of bhakti to the West by Srila Prabhupada, and then all of the followers, which are, within his own institution that he established, ISKCON, or those that have branched off to it, or those that are kind of like there before but are kind of intermingling with it at this time. The challenge of maintaining this aspect of the tradition, right? The challenge of this idea of a person taking on such a grave responsibility, representing it well, the role that plays in the lives of their followers when they don't play it well, the effect that has. It creates a lot of questioning, particularly in our days with the internet and so on, people with opinions and everybody's got their thoughts about it. Sometimes I hear people say, like, for instance, when I began to practice bhakti within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, there was I don't know exactly how many gurus were operating in that institution at that time. It might have been like 50 or something like that. Maybe even less, maybe 30 or something. I'm not sure. And the ones that had a lot of disciples, it might have been like 1,000 or 2,000. At least it seemed to be at the time. Now, some of those same gurus or others may have 10,000 disciples or 50,000 disciples. Like so many. Sometimes, and so you hear different ideas about this. Sometimes I hear an idea like, well, the real tradition is not like that. Actually, the real tradition is actually the guru shouldn't even be a sannyasi. Traditionally, a guru is a grihasta, a married person. They stay in one place. They don't travel around. They train. They personally train their disciples, so that the meaningful transmission of knowledge and so on, takes place. It's not just like your name on a list and you never talk to your guru. Would you agree with that characterization of tradition, or are there other ideas about what it might be?
Well, I think what you describe is an idea of a guru that is appealing to many people, that you'd have a very, very personal relationship to a guru. And definitely it's true that in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, most gurus have been householders. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because most of the students are householders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier perhaps for a guru who knows what it is to have a family, perhaps to have a job, to have to kind of deal with all these different aspects of life that most of us have to deal with. Perhaps it's easier for such a guru to then guide a student who is in a similar kind of stage of life. And of course, if you'd have a guru with just a limited number of students, that means that guru could actually then kind of personally train you and perhaps say that, Brighupada, you need to do this now, or you should do less of that.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout the tradition, there's always been different types of gurus as well. These kind of, we could call them like mega gurus or big shot gurus. With
Or Jagat Guru, would that be
that would be
that term
more
apply?
yeah, Jagat Guru. That's a term used originally by the followers of Shankaracharya, but it's used also in our tradition. So those would be gurus who'd have then, like you say, thousands of disciples. And that really works for some people. Some people want to have a guru like that. There are so many disciples of Prabhupada, for example. Prabhupada had thousands of disciples, and he had many disciples that he met maybe once or twice, or some of Prabhupada's disciples never met him.
Mm-hmm.
But still they have so much love for him, and they feel that perhaps that one time when they met him and when he looked at them for a split second or something, they feel that to have been very, very important for them. Prabhupada himself is an example of that. He had very little personal associations, we say, personal company with his own guru. And when his own guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in a letter he wrote him that it would be good if you'd preach in English, kind of like a vague
suggestion.
Prabhupada took that as his kind of life and soul. My guru ordered me to preach in the Western world, which from an outside perspective is kind of, well, that's not exactly what happened. But just see what happened because Prabhupada took it in that way. Mm-hmm. So he's an example of a person who didn't have that much kind of personal training from his guru, but the training that he got was very important. Mm-hmm. But if you have a guru like this kind of Jagat Guru, this kind of uh, very kind of majestic guru, then you also need to have kind of assistant gurus. And our tradition allows for that. Our tradition says that you should have one guru who is the mantra guru, the one who initiates you. Diksha guru is also called, the one who kind of connects you with the lineage. But you might also have then separate and perhaps multiple shiksha gurus or instructing gurus. And that's how it worked in Prabhupada's times, for example.
Sure.
Prabhupada, he would initiate, but then there would be local kind of, they wouldn't be called gurus, but local kind of perhaps senior devotees who would then train up the new ones. And that's also how traditionally Gaudiya Vaishnavism has often worked. That you might go, for example, to Vrindavan to get initiated, but then in your home village, there would be another person who would then train you up and teach you.
So like a Bengali villager might attend some big melas, some big festivals, and hear from a guru, and go into some tent maybe or something there, and be initiated into the lineage and given the mantra by them. But when they go back to their own village, someone, maybe another disciple of that guru who's there in their locality, is going to be giving them more practical instruction.
Exactly. Like we're now going to come together at Ratha Yatra, and then after that we'll be dispersed again in different directions. But there'll be somebody there to kind of nourish us
Right.
until we meet again.
That would be, I suppose, ideally or perhaps necessarily, teaching in alignment with their Diksha Guru.
Yes, definitely. Not necessarily being kind of a disciple of the same Diksha Guru, but teaching the same thing.
Yeah. You know, what you're bringing up is, I'll just bring this on to really, I'll just bring this home for people like myself and Raghunath, who we found that the people that were connecting with, the people that are connecting with us, that, well, here, let me put it this way. Let me go back a bit. When Raghunath and I first got involved in practicing bhakti, we knew our guru, and they knew us personally. We would have time to spend with them. We'd get direct instructions from them. If they had, like my guru had, I think by the time he passed away, I don't think he even had 1,000 disciples. It was, I think he had maybe 700 or 800, and that seemed like a lot. But he was there in my life, and but not only that, but at that time when you got into bhakti, pretty much you moved into a temple. That was kind of like standard. You kind of left the rest of the world behind. So when you moved in that temple, as you were mentioning, there were people there to give you instructions: when to wake up, when to go to sleep, what books to read, what books not to read, how much to chant, what kind of service you should do. Here's what you need to memorize. Here's what you need. It's like, so, our the way that the path is laid out in the text within our lineage, it says first there's some faith, and that faith leads you to seek out the association of other practitioners or sadhus, people that are sadhu sangha. And then the next stage after that is called bhajana kriya, where you actually really begin the practice in earnest under the instruction, and when I'm assuming that I haven't had the fortune to read your entire book yet, but you must speak about Rupa Goswami's instructions regarding this from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that first there's Guru Padashraya, you take shelter of the feet of a guru, right? And then is it after that is then you get initiated by the guru, and then you get instructions from the guru. Yes? Am I getting
Yes.
in the right order? Okay. And so what we see is that was kind of provided for us, very much like that. Whereas we worry sometimes now, because these people that are getting into it now, beautiful, sincere people, that they get interested, they get their faith, they get their sadhu sangha. When it comes to bhajana kriya, even if they take initiation, they may not have instruction. They may get the diksha, but not so much the shiksha. They don't have someone there saying, hey, what are you studying? Do you have some questions? let's talk about your japa practice, you know, and how's that going, and so on, to dig right into their life and instruct them. So I suppose that is how one because when we got those instructions, it was kind of like taking off, you know. It was like your spiritual life would really skyrocket. We're trying to see what we can do so that people's spiritual lives don't just kind of stagnate once they get to that point. It's almost like, oh, now we're done. We took initiation and now we're done.
Yeah, I mean that's a very important point. Initiation, of course, it means beginning something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Sure.
But you're right. Sometimes this is seen as kind of you work yourself up to getting initiation and then you're kind of done. But that's definitely not how the tradition has seen it. And I think you're onto something very important here. One of the basic meanings of bhakti is sharing. And bhakti is definitely something that's always done in the company of other bhaktas, of other devotees. And that's a big challenge for us nowadays. We're spread out all over the world. And having this kind of ashram experience, as you described, and that I also had in my youth, that's not a possibility for most of us, especially if we come to bhakti later on in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So creating kind of an alternative for this is very important. And I think that's one of the things that you're doing in this podcast, and that's beautiful. I think also one of the things where modern technology really can help us, like come together with the help of Zoom and so on. Like my guru, he once got the question that, what should I do? I live in a place where there are no other devotees. What should I do? And he said, move. but that's good advice. But today we might not need to do that even, because we can meet each other through Zoom, through other kind of digital ways. And it's not the same, of course. I particularly don't like eating prasadam through Zoom.
Sharing a feast with others through Zoom.
but it's better than nothing. It's much, much better than nothing. And
yeah, a serious plan. You could actually, we had a question asked like this just on our last question and answer period, I think, where someone was in that situation, and we said you can take out a calendar and map out when you're going to meet with people, right? Okay, this month I'm going to go and spend some time here, and I'm going to go on that retreat, and I'm going to attend that festival where I'll have to drive 3 hours. Let's make sure I build very thoughtfully, conscientiously build that kind of one-on-one time. I'm willing to travel for that and sacrifice and turn my vacation into a pilgrimage and so on. But otherwise, there is a lot of opportunity when you're at home to tune into things online.
Yeah, there's so many wonderful things. There's one devotee who does this. He has this project. He goes through all of the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur,
Mm-hmm.
one song every day. And there's so many different things in the different Gaudiya Vaishnava Sanghas today.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this, because this is I think a real important question. Let's say the kind of model that you just shared with us a moment ago, where let's say a Bengali villager would meet this big guru, right? This kind of Jagat guru, famous figure, kind of revered, throughout Bengal, perhaps, or something like that, Sometimes you see their posters when you're driving through, the popular person in that state of India or that area of India. So they meet that person, they have faith in them. They receive the mantra from that person. And then they're not going to have this social, it's going to have very limited contact, maybe no direct, maybe they get instruction through their lectures or recordings or their books or something like that, but they're not going to have that one-on-one dialogue, with them. They're going to get instructions from others that are following in a similar way. What is the value, in your opinion? What is the value of even connecting with that more popular figure? And two questions. In other words, what is the value? Why wouldn't they just get initiated by that local person who they have to have faith in if they're receiving instructions from? And two, what is this imparting of the mantra? Is it a mystical idea? Is it a practical idea? Does it have something to do with the faith of the disciple in the mantra? How would you characterize that giving the mantra? The guru gives the mantra to the disciple receives the mantra from the guru. What is that really all about?
Well, those are excellent questions, Kaustubh. I think for the first one reason for not taking initiation from the local person might be that that person is not authorized to give initiations. I mean, in our tradition, generally you don't just decide that you're going to become a guru, but that's a task that is given to you by your own guru. So perhaps the local person doesn't have that.
Well, let's assume they did.
Okay, so then it would be because the individual person, for some reason, wants to have that big guru as their guru, and we have to be important. We have to always remember that much of value is subjective. Another person might think, "What's the point in having this guru that doesn't even kind of know you personally?" But the individual might feel that I want to be connected with this person. I want to have my connection to Krishna through this person. Other people might not understand it, but I do.
No, this is.
This, yeah.
Let's say that this disciple, their faith that this individual is close to God in some way, represents God in I don't know, maybe more fully, that there's that by being that I want to connect to God through them, that I have faith that that's a solid connection, and so that when I'm being instructed by this local guru, that it's part of my being connected to this other guru. Is that?
Yes, definitely. And as you said before, it all begins with faith, Ado Shraddha. So if a particular person awakens and nourishes that faith in me, and that's a sacred thing. Faith is a sacred thing, and that's why we should be so careful in kind of judging other people's faith in Krishna. He is nourished by something that I can't understand, perhaps fully, but it works for him. It works for her. So I think that's an important thing. But as you say, then the connection between the kind of initiating guru and the instructing guru, that also has to work. So the initiating guru would have to kind of authorize you or say that yes, that's a good idea to listen to this local one.
Well, that brings up an interesting question. What is the responsibility of the guru to the disciple? When they enter into that and formalize through ceremony that role, what is their responsibility to that disciple?
Well, that's a grave responsibility, because the responsibility is to lead that disciple towards Krishna. And
how do they do that if they're not going to be there instructing them?
They're going to do that in two ways. One is indirectly through that instructing guru, but the other thing is, and that brings back to your previous question about the imparting the mantra.
Yeah,
that is that a magical thing, or you asked whether that's a magical thing or what it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, in many ways it could be described as a magical thing. Mm-hmm. This tradition describes initiation, that the guru kind of calls up the mantra from his or her heart and then imparts the mantra through words to the ear of the disciple, and then makes sure that the mantra is then kind of transferred down into the heart of the disciple. So that's a powerful and kind of magical thing that transcends our ordinary understanding to some extent.
Someone might feel, okay, I'm not going to have the close association with this person, but I'll receive the mantra from them, and that mantra will be infused with the love that they have with Krishna. Is that how you would maybe
Exactly. Exactly. Because in our tradition, we believe that mantras are not really alive unless they are infused with the particular power of a particular siddha or perfected being.
Mhm.
If you just pick up a mantra out of a book, that will just be dead letters. But
Well, of course, there's a verse that's quoted regarding this, although I'm not sure if the source of it is known.
well, that verse is attributed to the Padma Purana, Samprada
Okay.
Vinai Mantraste Nishpalamata. But
Which
it's not
says,
actually found in current editions of the Padma Purana.
okay,
But
but our acharyas have accepted it as a valid teaching.
yes, yes, there are many verses like this because many of these texts have changed form.
And exactly what this verse says?
It says that a mantra which is not received from a teacher in a tradition of teachers would not bear fruit. It will be nishpala. Would be
Okay.
so that's why it's so important that we receive the mantra from a person who has himself or herself been perfected in that mantra, has worked with that mantra, who has achieved something, and who has, as you say, infused the mantra with their own feeling. Because the idea is you can't really give something that you don't have yourself. So if you don't have love for Krishna, you won't be able to give that to the disciples.
Mm. So even that local guru, they might have the faith of the disciple, but they may say, no, no, I want you to receive this mantra through this, but then I'll have an easier time instructing you, right? Because you'll have this very dynamic potential to connect with this mantra through someone that's infused with the bhakti that we're aspiring for.
Mm. And that's also an important point because bhakti has so many nuances. Like you can speak about it today. People will speak about bhakti for your country, for example, or
Okay, yeah, yeah.
bhakti for whatever. But we're interested in a very particular kind of bhakti. We're interested in Krishna bhakti, and within that there are also kind of varieties. Some people love Krishna as a parent loves their child. Some people love Krishna as a friend loves a friend, and so on. And
Mhm.
gradually we'll find out what kind of love are we interested in.
So if that were the case, then a guru might even instruct a disciple that I see as your spiritual life is unfolding or progressing, I'm seeing where you can get specialized instruction from another. And so now I'm asking you to go and dedicate yourself to practicing and understanding their teachings. Let this person also serve as your guru.
Yes, and this is something that we see in the tradition, and this kind of detachment on the part of the guru is also an important qualification of being a guru. That not kind of being attached to riches and position, and also not being attached to the disciple in the sense that if you feel that the disciple would be more nourished by getting specialized teaching from somebody else, then the guru will say, yes, go in that direction.
We would hope that certainly there's so much potential within this relationship for a guru enjoying some other facet of the relationship than what is the true nature of it, or what is their responsibility. But it would seem that in one sense taking on this role is a burden for the guru. Now I have to become responsible for your spiritual growth, not just to you, but to God, right? Like I've formally taken that up. So if there's someone that can help me and carry part of this weight, then I'm eager for them to jump in and help.
Yes, definitely.
I wanted to also just digging just a bit more into this. That guru, if they hold that, if they bear that responsibility, um, then we could assume that also like there's an element of their own prayer for the benefit of the disciple that would play there, or whether it's we call it their desire it becomes the heart's desire of the guru for this person to advance, or it becomes part of their prayer that this person would advance, that might be a reason why I would want to be initiated by someone that I'm hardly ever going to get to talk to,
Mhm.
because that person has taken my responsibility for my spiritual life.
Mhm. Yeah. Sometimes the guru is also called like the spiritual guide, and the idea being that that's a person who's gone farther than us on the path, and who can hold us by the hand. And
Yeah,
I mean, we live in a time which is not very guru friendly in a sense. I mean,
for sure.
we learn since we're small children that we should think for ourselves and we shouldn't have any authorities and so on. And also with the internet and every small little kind of rumor growing, and
Mhm.
so we're living in a time which is not very guru friendly. And there are also plenty of examples of fake gurus.
Sure.
I was just reading this book the other day about a person whose father had been a disciple of Paul Brunton. Maybe you remember him. He used to write these kind of spiritual books in the middle of the 20th century. So he had a bad example. His father had a bad example with this Brunton, and the son was writing about that, and his conclusion was that all gurus are fake, and you shouldn't have any gurus, which you could understand from his perspective, from the bad experience he had. But there's nothing that you can call fake unless there's something that's real as well. And I
Mhm.
think that's very important for us to realize, that just because there are cheaters, just because there are people who don't live up to expectations, it doesn't mean that there are nobody who does.
Sure. And as you say, I could imagine and I see, because, I've had for some time one foot in the Gaudiya Vaishnava world and another foot in the broader kind of Western yoga world. And in that world, there are so many examples of collapses of big charismatic gurus that at a certain point, almost everybody starts to get the idea, well, maybe that just doesn't work in this day and age, or some similar attitude.
Mhm.
From my perspective, even within my tradition, I've seen the failures of it, but I've seen so much of the success of it too, all around me. And I think without that perspective, uh, it, one could easily become a skeptic.
Mhm.
But we're running out of time, but there are two questions I still wanted to ask you, if you don't mind. Um, One of them is, I just forgot one of them because I wanted to save the other one for last. What was it? Well, let me just ask the other one then, and the other one will probably come to me. Um, oh no, I think I got it. When someone's searching for a guru, what would be your advice? What should they look for, both on the positive, on the negative? Like, what would be the red flags, and what would you instruct them from your study into this tradition in depth? What would be perceived as red flags, and what would one actually really look for if they want an authentic experience?
Well, I think the first thing is important part of your question is what should a person looking for a guru look for? And I think that's an important thing, that this is actually an active thing. In New Age circles, you hear this statement that when the disciple is ready, the guru will appear.
Okay, we're getting to my second question, which was
Oh,
like, how do
okay.
I find a guru? But perfect, we can do it in one.
Yeah, yeah. You probably heard that when the disciple is ready, the
Yes.
guru will appear.
That idea,
Yeah.
do you see that as an authentic statement? Like, could you?
No, it's not
Okay.
made up by a person who called himself Yogi Ramacharaka,
Uh,
William Walker Atkinson. He was an American kind of new thought author in the 20th century. That's not an authentic thing. And it's also a kind of a dangerous idea, because it takes away our own agency in going out and finding our guru. We can't just sit passively and wait for the guru to appear. We
mhm.
could, but I don't think it's a good idea. So that's the first thing. We need to go out. And if we're interested in Krishna Bhakti, we should go and look among Krishna Bhaktas. We should find other people who are interested in Krishna Bhakti and speak with them, ask them, do they have any suggestions for us? And when we kind of grow in our own understanding of Bhakti, we'll also see that there are varieties of gurus. And as for red flags, one of the things is the absence of tradition. We spoke about this before. That if it's a person who may seem to be excellent in other ways, but doesn't have a connection, a real connection, that you see that this person has studied for another guru and is still being inspired by other gurus, I think that's a red flag. Another red flag is if that person doesn't kind of fulfill the basic requirements of guru, which is having knowledge of the scriptures, having detachment to the world. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you are a renunciant or a monk, but who is not kind of attached to money, to fame, to position, to sex, things like this, kind of gross material things. And then that guru should have some kind of attachment to bhakti and to Krishna, that you can see that person is really kind of living this thing. It's not just theory. It's not just that person is not just a professor like me, but a person who's actually kind of enthused by this thing. Mm-hmm. So red flags, I would say, would be absence of tradition, absence of detachment, and absence of practice of Krishna Bhakti. That's an important thing, that the guru should also be a practitioner.
Yeah. I can't help but take this a little further. We hear about the relationship between the guru and the disciple. Sometimes we hear about part of that guru's role is the kindness that they have to the disciple, right? Could you speak to that a bit?
Well, that's an important point, but it's important also to realize that can take different forms.
Yeah.
People might need, like one of the difficult things with having a guru is that it's often a bother. The guru is going to tell you things that you don't like.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so much more fun to have like a book as your guru or a
guru that you're never going to see.
Yeah, exactly. But that's an important part of spiritual life. Spiritual life is not just about having fun at the festival, but it's also about struggle. And sometimes the guru needs to kind of be heavy with the disciple, like Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He starts his teaching of Arjuna. He starts his teaching with really kind of insulting Arjuna. Don't be such a eunuch. Klaibyam mas magama partha. He's being really kind of nasty with him to kind of shake him, to wake up from this kind of self-pity that he had fallen into. So the guru's kindness might also sometimes have to be kind of heavy. But sometimes it's not that the guru is supposed to be this nasty person who's always just insulting you. But we need to be careful about this, that we don't fall into this trap of thinking that the guru needs to be the one who always kind of pats us on the head and kind of is always super kind to us.
That might be a road to an inauthentic experience, if that's what you're looking for, even maybe not explicitly or consciously. But maybe you're looking for some other kind of relationship that's missing in your life, whether it's a father figure or something like similar.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, my guru had a reputation as you know, one that was quite ready to challenge the disciple or correct in a very stern way. And my relationship, I knew him almost entirely as a brahmachari myself. He passed away just as I was changing ashram. And for me, being his disciple was almost like being a Marine or something like that. It was, you know, there was orders And it was, you know, I would stand at attention, you know, when I was speaking to him. It was very much, um, I don't want to mischaracterize it by saying it was like being in the military or something, but in many ways it was. You know, I would, as a lower ranked person in the military, has to follow the orders, you know, it was like that. I felt it was incredibly good for me. It did so, you know, so much for my spiritual life. But perhaps for another person that wasn't a brahmachari, it would be a different type of relationship, and it wouldn't be so demanding. But still, this transfer could take place, and the growth would take place. That I suppose what I'm getting at is that how one guru might relate to different disciples would be molded by or tailored to their circumstances.
Yes, yes. That's one of the tasks of, I suppose, any good teacher, that to be able to see the student for where he or she is, and what kind of teaching that person needs.
Circumstances.
Yes, the circumstances, and the time and the place. And we all go through so many, even if we haven't had this kind of temple experience, we'll all go through different stages in our lives. And,
Sure.
and we're going to need different teachings at those different stages. And sometimes the guru might even have to tell us that now you need to do less spiritual exercises, that now you need to take care of your family, and so on. So it's important, I think, to realize that even if we're in an institution with kind of rules that are the same for everybody, there will always be space for some individual variance as well.
And I suppose in any relationship, it grows and changes in different ways, particularly with like an instructor and a student, or a parent and a child, you know, which the guru-disciple relationship kind of shares elements from both of those. Because I remember my guru saying, you know, after 10 years, you know, the disciple starts to relate to me in a little bit of a different way, you know. He just saw that as like a common pattern. And I suppose the guru also maybe has to recognize that, yeah, this is the way that it'll have to deepen in another way now, and maybe they're seeing a little bit more like I'm treating you a little bit more like an adult, or a little bit more like a friend, or you know, maybe not, but these subtle adjustments, or adjustments may not even be the right word, but it just might be a natural kind of development may arise.
Yes, definitely.
Prabhu, it's been wonderful having you here. It's been a while since we had you. I was really happy to have you back. I really is your book, is that an easy thing to find? Is that one of those academic books that costs like $200 to buy?
No, it's very easy to find. You'll find it online.
Okay, excellent. You can go to Amazon and look for As
No,
Good
no,
as God,
you'll find it on archive.org. So
archive.org.
you can download it from there for free.
Okay. Oh, for free. Look
Yeah.
at that. Okay.
It was probably 20 years ago since I wrote that. So you'll find it there.
That's great to know. So I recommend people checking that book out. You can learn a lot from that. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brigupad Prabhu.
Thank you for having me. Haribol.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and Sahit Grahi and Little Radha today at the Rath Yatra Festival. Looking forward to seeing so many of the rest of you. We hope you are in town and can join us. We'll have our table set up. Look for our banner. But we're kind of like in the center of, you know, in that there's kind of a circle area in the park. We'll be there. We'll be doing kirtan. We'll be handing out prasadam. And just getting to know each other better too. That element will be there. It'll be a beautiful day. So please join us if you can. I'm going to run now because I got a very busy day. But for those of you that can't make it, we'll see you tomorrow morning. We'll hopefully see everyone tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with question and answers. If you have any questions you'd like to share, you can go to, I think you can write to wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We might be able to squeeze it in for tomorrow's show. Who knows? And otherwise, as Raghunath always says, it's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic flow.